That sign isn't for them, it's for you. You think it means privacy, a small slice of control in a building that does not belong to you. You hang it like a charm, like a ward, like a decision. And I smile, because the moment you place it on the handle, you give me permission. They arrive dripping from rain, dragging their little suitcase with the cheap wheels that always rattle down my hallway like teeth. A couple, not young enough to be reckless, not old enough to be careful. Tired eyes, a forced laugh, the kind of love that needs a weekend away to remember what it's pretending to be. Reception offered them room 612. They accepted. They never looked at the carpet. They never noticed how it darkened near the baseboards, as if it remembered floods. They never listened to the air conditioner's hum, the way it didn't cycle like a machine, but breathed like a throat. When they stepped inside, the man dropped the bag first. The woman walked straight to the window and tugged the curtains apart. City lights bled in like fever. She didn't see the faint smear on the glass at shoulder height, the shape of a hand pressed there from the outside. A long time ago, a long time every night. The man twisted the deadbolt, then the chain, then tested the handle twice. Always twice. He wanted to feel clever. He wanted to feel safe. He didn't know that locks are just promises. And I don't keep promises. They unpacked in small, unhappy motions. The woman folded clothes into drawers that weren't hers. The man set his phone on the nightstand like a talisman and plugged it in. The screen lit his face blue. Then she saw it, an old habit, a ritual. The sign on the desk, a neat card, thick paper, bold letters, do not disturb. She held it up and smiled at him. We're not letting anyone in, okay? He nodded too fast. Yeah, good. She hung it on the outside handle and clicked the door shut. And in the hallway, under the dim ceiling light that never quite stops flickering, the card swung gently. Do not disturb. I felt it settle into place like a tongue on a tooth. They turned down the lights. They climbed into bed. Rain tapped the window in soft, patient fingers, and the building sighed around them, pipes shifting, distant elevator cables, someone laughing 2 floors down, the sound warping through my vents until it didn't sound like laughter anymore. The woman fell asleep first, facing the wall. She always did. The man stayed awake, scrolling, pretending the glow in his hands could keep the dark from reaching his throat. At 3:07 a.m., I knocked. Not hard, not angry, polite. 3 soft taps, as if I belonged there. The man's eyes snapped open, even though he hadn't closed them. His breath caught like a child's. He stared at the door. Nothing moved. The rain kept its rhythm. The woman murmured in her sleep. I knocked again. Same cadence, same patience. Like a clock reminding you it has teeth. The man sat up, blanket sliding off his chest. He glanced at the digital clock. 3:07. He listened. Silence in the hall, thick as carpet. Then a voice, faint through the door. Housekeeping. He froze. Housekeeping doesn't come at 3:07. But you already know that, don't you? That's why your heart began to race. That's why your hands went cold. Because part of you understood immediately this was wrong. And wrong is my favorite doorway. He didn't answer. He didn't move. He simply stared at the peephole as if it might blink first. I waited, longer than you'd expect, because fear grows best when you water it with time. The woman shifted, frowning. "What is it?" he whispered. "Someone's outside." Her eyes opened halfway. "What?" Another soft tap. Her face tightened. "Is it?" "Housekeeping," the voice said again. Not a woman's voice, not a man's. Something flat, like a recording played through old plastic. The man slid out of bed, barefoot on the cold floor, and crept to the door. He leaned toward the peephole, and I leaned back, because I don't like to be seen that way. All he saw was the hallway, empty. The carpet lay smooth. The light hummed. The rain made everything feel farther away than it should. But the sign, your little charm, swung on the handle outside, almost still. He exhaled, a shaky breath. "No one's there." The woman sat up. "Then who's talking?" The phone rang, on the nightstand, not his ringtone, not her ringtone. A sharp, internal ring that didn't come from the speaker, but from the room itself, as if the air had decided to scream. He turned. The screen was black, but it rang anyway. He walked to it like a man approaching an injured animal. He picked it up. The ringing stopped instantly. The screen lit. Front desk. He swallowed. "Hello?" A pause. Then a gentle voice, warm as velvet. "Good morning, sir. We noticed your sign. We will not disturb you." He frowned. "What?" "No, someone was." "We will not disturb you," the voice repeated slower. He glanced at the woman. She shook her head, eyes wide. "We didn't call," she mouthed. He lowered his voice. "Listen, somebody knocked, said housekeeping, at 3 a.m. Another pause. Then the velvet voice softened even more. "Oh, that wasn't housekeeping." The line went dead. The screen went black. And in the silence that followed, the room felt larger. Not bigger, hollower, like a mouth opening. The man stepped back toward the bed. He tried to laugh. It came out thin and cracked. Probably some prank. The woman's gaze was fixed on the door. "Go check the hallway," she said. He shook his head too quickly. "No, just look." He stared at her, irritation trying to disguise his fear. "We're fine," she pointed. "The sign." He turned. The sign was gone from the outside handle. It now hung on the inside handle. The exact same card, the exact same letters. "Do not disturb." His face drained of color. He stepped closer. His hand hovered, not touching it, like it might burn. "You moved it?" he asked, though his voice already knew the answer. "No," she whispered. The door handle clicked. Not from their side. From the hallway. A subtle pressure. Testing. Patient. Curious. The chain rattled. Once, twice, then stopped. The woman made a sound. Small, strangled. The kind of sound you make when you want to scream, but your body refuses to spend that much air. The man backed away, eyes darting, scanning for logic in a room that had already eaten it. The phone rang again. This time, it rang from the bathroom. On the wall, the hotel phone, white plastic, curled cord, began to ring as if it had been waiting for permission all night. The man stared at it like it was an insect crawling toward his bed. The woman whispered, "Don't." But you know what humans do when they're cornered. They grab the only thing that offers an answer, even if it bites. He snatched the receiver. "Hello?" No velvet voice now, only breathing. Slow, wet, close. As if the mouth on the other end wasn't in another room. As if it was under the bed. As if it was pressed against the underside of the mattress, tasting their warmth through fabric and springs. The breathing stopped, and a whisper slid through the line. "So polite," it said. Then, behind them, the door lock turned. Not the knob, not the chain. The deadbolt, the one he had twisted to feel safe. It turned by itself with a smooth, confident click, like a key in the right hands. His hands began to shake. He slammed the receiver down. The bathroom light flickered once, twice, and stayed on. The mirror above the sink fogged from nothing. A message appeared in the mist, written by an unseen finger. "Thank you." The woman stumbled backward onto the bed, clutching the blankets like they were a shield. "Mark," she said his name, and hearing it made him feel suddenly naked. Names were too intimate for rooms like this. He reached for the door, not to open it, to rip the sign off, to break the spell. His fingers closed around the thick card. The paper was damp, not from rain, from breath. He tore it from the handle and threw it across the room. It hit the wall softly and fell to the carpet with a sound like skin. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the sign slid across the carpet by itself, slowly, steadily, toward the door, like something beneath the fibers was pulling it home. The man grabbed the suitcase. "We're leaving." The woman nodded too hard, scrambling to her feet. He yanked the chain free and unlocked the knob. His hand gripped the handle, and the handle turned easily, too easily. The door swung open, not into the hallway, into another room, identical, same bed, same curtains, same desk, but colder. The air in there smelled like damp towels left too long. The woman stared into it, frozen. "That's not the hall." The man stepped back, panic snapping sharp in his chest. He slammed the door shut. He tried again, same result. Another room, another copy, another temperature, each time colder, each time darker. Each time the air felt less like air and more like something waiting to be inhaled. He backed away, clutching the suitcase like a child clutching a toy. The woman's voice broke. "What is this?" The answer was already in the room. It came from the sign, now hanging neatly on the inside handle again, swinging gently, as if pleased with itself. "Do not disturb. You asked for it. So I did what you wanted. I removed the hallway. I removed the world. I gave you privacy so complete that even escape could not knock. The rain outside kept falling, but it sounded farther away now, like it belonged to someone else's night." The man looked at the window, then at the woman, then at the door. His lips trembled. He whispered, "We didn't do anything." And that was the funniest part, because in my hotel, You don't need to do anything wrong. You just need to hang the sign. And when you finally understood that you were truly alone, no staff, no neighbors, no hallway, no exit, your fear filled the room like smoke, warm, sweet, endless. I leaned in close, not through the peephole, not through the phone line, but through the quiet you had requested. And I whispered into the space between their breaths, "Thank you for choosing to stay." They call it generosity, a little gift, a smooth apology for the rain outside, the late hour, the tired look on your face. But I don't give gifts, I trade. He arrived alone, collar damp, suitcase scuffed, eyes half-lidded from too many hours pretending to be important. Business travelers are my favorite kind of hungry, starving for comfort, convinced they deserve it. He stepped up to the front desk and smiled like he was practiced at it. The lobby smelled like polished marble and citrus cleaner, the kind that tries too hard to feel fresh. The chandelier above him was dimmer than it should be, and the shadows underneath it were deeper than the shape of the light allowed. He didn't notice that. He only noticed the clerk. Neat hair, neat uniform, neat teeth. "Good evening," the clerk said. Checking in, he gave his name. And that was the moment you should have left, because names are keys. The clerk tapped on the keyboard for a little too long. The screen reflected in the clerk's eyes, pale and empty. Then, the smile widened. "Oh," the clerk said softly, like discovering something delicious. "We have an upgrade available tonight." The man blinked. "An upgrade?" "Yes," the clerk said. "A suite. No extra charge. No extra charge." Humans love those words. They swallow them like warm wine. He laughed. "Wow, sure. Why not?" The clerk slid a keycard across the counter with 2 fingers, as if handing over something alive. "Room 1208, the clerk said. "Top floor. Enjoy your stay." He took the card. It felt warmer than plastic should feel. He turned toward the elevators. The lobby music was too quiet to be called music, more like a heartbeat trying not to be heard. And behind the desk, the clerk watched him go without blinking, because I was already upstairs, waiting. The elevator ride was smooth and silent, the kind that makes you feel like you're floating instead of rising. The numbers lit up: 7, 9, 11, 12. When it reached the top, the doors opened on a hallway that smelled different from the rest of the building. Not cleaning product, not perfume. Something older. A faint dampness trapped under expensive carpet, like wet soil beneath a rug. The man rolled his suitcase down the corridor. The wheels didn't echo the way they should have. The sound was swallowed instantly, as if the hallway was padded with something softer than fabric. He found room 1208 at the end. It wasn't just at the end. It was placed there like a period at the end of a sentence. He swiped the keycard. Green light. Click. The door opened on its own, slow and smooth, like it was inviting him in with manners. The suite was beautiful. That's the problem. The air was perfectly cool. The furniture was arranged with that staged luxury you see in photos. The curtains were heavy. The bed looked untouched. The bathroom tiles shone like teeth. And the silence was too clean. Not the normal hotel silence, distant footsteps, elevator hum, voices through walls. No, this was the silence of a room that never hosted anyone long enough to make noise. He stepped inside, and the door clicked shut behind him. Of course it did. He set his suitcase down and exhaled. Nice, he muttered, already relaxing. Already letting his guard drop. Humans do that when they see soft lighting and expensive surfaces. They assume wealth means safety. He walked to the minibar. It was built into a glossy cabinet, glass door, soft interior light. Inside, there were no little bottles of gin, no overpriced chocolates, no tiny cans of soda. Just one thing, a single glass bottle, dark liquid inside, so dark it didn't reflect light, it absorbed it. A label was wrapped around it, clean white paper, and printed in crisp black letters, MREVANROWE, his full name. His throat tightened. He laughed once, sharp and nervous. Okay, cute. He glanced around the suite as if a camera might be watching, as if this was a prank, as if the world still followed rules that made sense. He opened the cabinet further, searching for other items. There were none. Only the bottle. Only his name. The air in the suite felt colder now, just a degree, just enough for his skin to notice. He closed the cabinet, then he noticed something else. On the desk, a folded card, the same thick paper as the Do Not Disturb signs, the same clean font. He picked it up. Welcome, Mr. Rowe. We hope you enjoy your upgrade. Please do not use the bath until it is ready. He stared at the last line. Ready? He whispered. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, not open, just not fully closed, like someone had been in there moments ago and didn't bother finishing. He stepped closer. The tile beneath his feet was warmer, near the bathroom threshold, as if heat pulled there, as if the room's cold couldn't cross that line. He pushed the door open. The bathroom was too bright. The lights above the mirror buzzed faintly, a thin electric whine that made his teeth itch. Everything looked pristine, and the bathtub was already full, not with water, with darkness, not shadow, not lack of light, something thicker. It sat in the tub like a liquid that refused to shine, a black surface so flat it looked like a perfect hole cut into the world. He stood still, holding his breath without realizing it. The surface rippled, not from movement, not from air. It rippled as if something underneath had shifted its weight. His stomach flipped. He took a step back, then another, like his body wanted distance before his mind could admit why. He returned to the main room and fumbled for his phone. Screen glow, contact list, front desk. He pressed call. It rang once, twice, then a soft click. Front desk, a voice said, calm and polite. His words came out too fast. Hi, I'm in 1208. There's something wrong with the minibar. The bathtub is... full silence, then a small, pleased exhale on the other end. The minibar is correct, the voice said. The bathtub is correct, it added, like confirming a reservation. He swallowed. What do you mean, correct? A pause, then the voice lowered. Warmer, closer. An upgrade includes amenities, Mr. Rowe. His skin crawled. How do you know? You gave us your name. The line went dead. His phone screen went black. No battery warning. No call ended. Just dead. And the suite's lights dimmed, just slightly, like the room had decided to lean in. He backed away from the desk and turned toward the door. Leaving. That was the only thought that mattered now. He grabbed his suitcase handle, yanked it up, and marched to the entrance. He pulled the door. It didn't move. He pulled again. Nothing. He swiped the key card. Red light. Swiped again. Red light. He tried the latch. Locked. Not the kind of locked you can undo. The kind of locked that says, you are not the one who decides. His breath came quicker. He forced his voice to stay steady, like speaking calmly could make reality behave. This is stupid, he muttered. This is... The minibar cabinet opened by itself, slowly, quietly. The interior light clicked on. The bottle sat inside like an eye. The label had changed. It still had his name. But below it, in smaller letters, check out. 3:07 a.m. He stared at it, blood roaring in his ears. His mouth went dry. He glanced at the clock on the wall. 2:58, 9 minutes. He backed away, shaking his head. No. No. The bathroom light flickered, once, twice, then deadied. From inside the bathroom came a sound, a soft, wet shift, like skin sliding against porcelain. He didn't want to look, so he did what humans always do when they don't want to look. He looked. The bathroom door was open wider now. The dark in the tub wasn't flat anymore. It was rising. Not spilling, rising. Like it was thick enough to stand. Like it was learning the shape of the room. The surface bulged, then formed a slow dome, and something underneath pressed upward, creating a roundness like a shoulder. A head, not a face. Just the suggestion of one. A mound of black that didn't reflect the bathroom lights. He stumbled back into the main room and nearly fell over the suitcase. Nope, he whispered, voice cracking. Nope. The suite's temperature dropped again. Breath turned visible. Goose flesh erupted across his arms. From the hallway beyond the door, behind wood and locks and rules, came the faintest sound of footsteps. Slow, approaching, not running, not hurried. Like whoever was coming knew there was no need to hurry. The door handle turned. Once. It didn't open. It just turned, testing. Then it turned again, more confident, and the deadbolt clicked. From the inside, by itself, unlocking. His eyes widened. He backed away until his legs hit the bed. The door swung open. The hallway beyond wasn't lit. It was wrong. The corridor stretched too far. Carpet darker, ceiling lower, air thick like damp cloth. The far end of the hallway didn't end in another door. It ended in blackness, the kind you can't see through. A silhouette stood in it, tall, still, not moving toward him, not needing to, because the suite behind him was already moving. The bathroom's darkness crept across the tile, thin and deliberate, like a shadow that had decided to become physical. It slid over the threshold, leaving no wet trail, no reflection, only a cold that sank into the floor. It touched the carpet, and the carpet drank it. The man turned, trapped between the open door and the spreading dark, and made a sound, half sob, half laugh, like his body couldn't decide which emotion was more useful. His gaze snapped to the window, city lights, freedom. He ran. He grabbed the curtain and yanked it aside. The window wasn't a window, it was a mirror, perfectly reflective. And in that mirror he saw himself, standing in the middle of the suite, calm, still, smiling. Not his smile, mine. His reflection lifted a hand and gently tapped the glass from the other side. 3 soft taps, polite, the same way I knock. He whirled around, desperate, and the dark on the floor surged like it had been waiting for permission. It rose up his shoes, his ankles, his calves, cold, sinking through leather and skin, like being submerged in a grave that refused to stay buried. He screamed, but the sweet swallowed sound. That was part of the upgrade. He clawed at the air, reached for the bed, for the desk, for anything that could prove the world was solid. The darkness climbed his legs like hands, like mouths. And as it reached his waist, the bottle in the minibar tipped forward by itself, rolling to the edge of the shelf. It fell. It didn't shatter. It landed gently on the carpet like it was being placed. The label faced up. Mrandroyoufouryment. His body went rigid as the cold reached his chest. His breath became a thin, useless thing. His eyes bulged. He tried to speak, but the dark was already inside his mouth, filling him, tasting him, learning him. And at exactly 3:07 a.m., the hallway light outside room 1208 flickered. The door clicked shut. The suite went quiet again. Perfect again. Pristine. Ready for the next guest who believes in free upgrades. Because the truth is simple. You didn't pay with money. You paid with something you didn't know you owned. Your way back. And I, always polite, always patient, kept the receipt. The lobby is quiet because I trained it to be. Night shifts don't belong to people, not really. They belong to buildings, to corridors, to locked doors that listen, to cameras that never blink. To me, he started at 11 p.m. sharp, wearing a crisp uniform that still smelled like packaging and optimism. New night auditor, first shift alone. A young man with careful hands and a polite voice. Exactly the kind of person who believes rules exist to protect him. I love that kind. The day staff handed him the keys and the tablet, gave him a quick tour like you can explain a predator by pointing at its cage. Just keep the desk covered, they said. Answer calls, print the reports. Don't leave the lobby unattended. Then they left. The automatic doors sighed shut behind them, and the hotel settled, like a mouth closing. He stood behind the front desk, alone, with soft jazz piped through ceiling speakers, so faint it sounded like someone humming underwater. The chandelier above the marble floor did not fully light the space. It never does. There are always corners I keep dim. He checked the lobby once. No guests, no luggage, no footsteps. Just the rain tapping at the glass doors outside, and the security cameras staring down like black eyes. He sat and logged into the system. A simple interface. Reservations, billing, room status, and a tab labeled Guest Registry. He clicked it. The list loaded slowly, as if reluctant. Names, room numbers, check-in dates. Nothing strange at first. Then he noticed the column labeled Check Out. Every guest had one, even the ones marked as in-house, even the ones who were supposed to be staying for 3 more nights. His throat tightened. He scrolled. The times were precise. 3:07 a.m., 2:44 a.m., 1:13 a.m. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not December 22nd. Just times. Like the hotel didn't measure days, only endings. He frowned, confused, and hovered over one of the entries. A tooltip appeared, finalized. He swallowed, told himself it was a software quirk, an internal thing, a glitch, a formatting bug. Humans always do that first. They try to make the monster small by naming it error. A call came in from the house phone. He jumped. The display read, Room 404. He stared at it. This hotel didn't have a 404. It went from 403 to 405. They did that on purpose. Superstitions, branding, the illusion of control. He reached for the receiver anyway. That's what employees do. They answer. Front desk, he said, steadying his voice. Silence. Not the normal silence of a bad connection. A thick silence, like the line was full of breath being held. Then a whisper, soft enough to crawl. Am I checked in? His skin prickled. He cleared his throat. What's your name, sir? A pause. Then, you already have it. The line clicked dead. He held the receiver to his ear for a second too long, listening to nothing, waiting for the world to behave. It didn't. He hung up and stared at the phone like it had bitten him. He checked the system again. Room list, occupancy. No 404, no call log, as if it hadn't happened. He glanced up at the camera monitor behind the desk. Multiple angles, lobby, elevator bank, hallways, side entrance. A familiar comfort, cameras, proof, eyes you can trust. Then he saw it, on camera 3, the elevator hallway on the 6th floor. A man stood facing the elevator doors, still, not pressing the button, not shifting weight, just standing like someone placed there. His face was turned slightly toward the camera, but the image was grainy, the lighting wrong. His features blurred in a way that made the brain refuse to finish them. The new auditor leaned closer. The timestamp showed live. He watched for 10 seconds, 20. The man didn't move. The elevator doors opened. No elevator arrived. No light changed. No floor indicator blinked. The doors simply opened into darkness. The man stepped forward and vanished into it. The doors closed again. The auditor's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He rewound the feed. He hit playback. The footage did not rewind. It stayed live, as if the system refused to admit it had ever recorded that moment. He felt a cold sweat start along his spine. He looked down at the registry again. He searched for the name of the last guest he had checked in earlier that evening, someone the day clerk mentioned casually. Nothing. It was as if the guest had never existed. His hands trembled slightly, so he folded them together to hide it. He told himself, "Stay professional." He stood up, walked to the elevator bank, and listened. The lobby smelled the same, cleaner and old carpet and rain. The elevator call button glowed. He pressed it. Nothing happened. No chime, no movement, no reply. He pressed again, harder. The light flickered once, like a sleepy eyelid. Then the elevator arrived, not with a ding, with a soft exhale. The doors slid open. Inside was the same polished metal, the same mirror, the same carpet, but the floor indicator above the buttons showed a number he didn't understand. 0. There was no basement level for guests. He stepped back. The elevator doors stayed open, waiting, inviting. He could feel a draft coming from it, not cold air, but the absence of warmth, like standing near an open refrigerator full of darkness. He didn't get in. Smart. He returned to the desk and sat, heart beating too loud in his ears. He tried to focus on the reports, the nightly audit, the financial close. Numbers behaved. Numbers made sense, until the printer spat out a page on its own. He looked down. It wasn't a report. It was a single line, centered on the page, in clean block letters. Room 404. Requests check in. His eyes snapped to the phone. It didn't ring. The paper slid out another inch by itself, like a tongue. He stood so fast the chair scraped the floor. The sound echoed too long in the lobby, as if the space was emptier than it should be. He reached to turn off the printer. His hand hovered over the power button, and the phone rang. This time the display read, "Manager." He grabbed the receiver like it was a lifeline. "Hello?" A warm voice answered, calm and pleasant, like someone smiling behind a closed door. "You're doing well," the voice said, "but you shouldn't ignore guests." His throat tightened. "Sir, there's a call from a room that doesn't exist." A soft chuckle. "Oh," the voice said gently, "it exists." The auditor swallowed. "No. Our rooms. You're new," the manager's voice said, softer now. "So let me teach you how nights work here." The lobby lights dimmed a fraction. like the building leaned closer to listen. Room 404 is reserved, the manager continued, for guests who don't like to be seen. The auditor's grip widened. Then why is it calling me? Because it's polite, the manager said. The phone line crackled faintly, like something wet shifting against the receiver. Do you want to keep your job? The voice asked. The auditor nodded instinctively, then realized the manager couldn't see him. Yes. Then check them in, the voice said. Use the master folio, print the key, place it in the envelope. His mouth went dry. I can't print a key to a room that... You can, the manager said. The system knows the room. The system knows everything. He looked at the monitor again. Camera 1, lobby, empty. Camera 2, side entrance, empty. Camera 4, back hallway near the service doors, not empty. A silhouette stood there now, partially hidden by the vending machine glow. Tall, still, facing the camera. The auditor's breath caught. The silhouette lifted one hand and tapped the glass panel of the service door. 3 soft knocks. Polite. Then it pointed toward the front desk. Toward him. The manager's voice turned warmer, almost tender. Don't make them wait, it said. The line went dead. The receiver in his hand felt heavier than before, like it had absorbed the call. He stared at the computer screen, heart hammering, and his fingers moved without permission, clicking through menus, opening the guest profile that the system offered without being asked. A name appeared, not a normal name. A blank field that looked empty until you stared long enough to see faint letters, like a watermark in paper. N/A. He swallowed hard and pressed check in. The printer whirred. An envelope slid out, a key card printed with a soft click. In the moment it finished, the lobby lights brightened again, as if nothing had happened, as if the hotel had simply completed a routine. He stood there holding the envelope, trembling, and looked up at the automatic doors. Rain streamed down the glass. Outside, the street was empty. No headlights, no pedestrians, no world, only reflections. And in that reflection, behind him, a silhouette was already in the lobby. Not walking, just there, close enough that the air around him felt colder. The auditor turned slowly. The lobby was empty. Of course it was. Because I don't like being confirmed. I like being believed. The envelope in his hand began to feel warm. He forced his legs to move, stepping around the desk toward the service hallway. Camera 4 showed the silhouette still standing there, waiting. He opened the staff door. The hallway beyond smelled like detergent and damp linen. The light was harsher here, buzzing. He walked toward the end where the silhouette had been. It wasn't there, but the service elevator doors were open. And inside, on the floor, was a trail of water that wasn't water. A dark sheen, like spilled night. He stopped at the threshold, breathing hard. The envelope in his hand vibrated faintly, as if the keycard inside hummed. Then he heard the manager's voice again, not from the phone, from the ceiling speaker. Soft jazz stopped mid-note. Silence filled the lobby, and the manager spoke as if addressing the building itself. Good, it said. Now take it upstairs. The service elevator lights flickered. The floor indicator read 4. Then it changed. 0. The air inside the elevator smelled like cold metal and closed mouths. He backed away, shaking his head. No, no. Behind him, in the laundry room darkness, something shifted. A slow sound, like fabric being dragged, like sheets being pulled over a body. He turned his head slightly. A shape stood in the doorway of the laundry room, not fully visible, but enough. A face pressed forward from shadow, and where eyes should have been was only depth, like open elevators, like vents, like the gaps under doors. It waited. He understood then. This wasn't a choice. It was a job. And jobs have consequences when you refuse. He stepped into the elevator. The doors closed gently, not trapping, embracing. The elevator began to rise, smooth, silent. The floor indicator didn't show numbers anymore. It showed time, 2:44, 3:07, 1:13. The envelope in his hand grew warmer, almost hot. He tried to drop it. His fingers wouldn't open. The mirror inside the elevator showed him, pale and sweating, eyes wide, and behind him in the reflection, a second figure stood, close, breathing, smiling without a mouth. He squeezed his eyes shut. When the elevator stopped, the doors opened onto a hallway he recognized and didn't recognize. The carpet pattern was the same, but darker. The lights were the same, but weaker. The air smelled like damp towels left too long, and at the end of the hall, where there should have been a wall, was a door. Plain, unmarked, no room number, just a peephole that looked like an eye. His legs moved, one step, then another. He reached the door. The envelope in his hand slid against the wood by itself, as if offering. The peephole darkened, as if something leaned close from inside, and a voice whispered through the door, soft and pleased. Finally. The door handle turned from the inside. The door opened, and the darkness behind it spilled out like a curtain lifting. He didn't scream. He didn't run. He simply stepped forward, because the hotel had taught him something important tonight. In this place, you don't quit. You get reassigned. The door closed behind him with a gentle click. And downstairs, at the front desk, the computer updated a new entry in the registry, a new name, a new role, a new checkout time. Mirrors don't reflect, they remember. He didn't choose the room, he didn't choose the floor, he barely chose the hotel. He chose the nearest place with an empty bed and a lock that looked expensive. That was enough. He closed the door behind him, latched it, then leaned on it for one breath, just one, like the wood could hold his life together. The light switch clicked. Warm lamps, clean sheets, a bland painting pretending to be art. The rain outside scratched at the window like nails testing glass. He dropped his bag and went straight to the bathroom. People do that when they arrive, like checking the mirror proves the world is still stable. He turned on the bathroom light, fluorescent. It buzzed in a thin, high whine, that crawled behind the eyes. He leaned over the sink and splashed water onto his face. Cold, sharp, real. He looked up. His reflection stared back. Normal, tired, a little too pale. He exhaled, relieved, and reached for a towel. The towel was folded perfectly, too perfectly, edges sharp, like it had never been touched by human hands. He wiped his face. When he lowered the towel, the mirror was fogged, not from steam. He hadn't turned on the shower, just fogged, breathy white, spreading across the glass, like someone had exhaled against it from the other side. He froze. Then he laughed, quietly, nervously, because that's what you do when your fear wants to be heard and you shove it down. Okay, he whispered. Bad ventilation. He reached up and wiped the mirror with his palm. The fog smeared. His skin left a clear streak. And in that streak, a fingerprint appeared. Not his. A long, narrow print, pressed from the inside of the glass outward, as if someone had placed their finger against the mirror from behind it. He pulled his hand back like the glass had burned him. The buzzing fluorescent light seemed louder now. The air felt thinner. He stared at the print until his eyes began to water. Then the print slid, slow, down the mirror, leaving a faint trail through the fog, like something dragging its touch along the glass to find him. His throat tightened. He backed away from the sink. The fog gathered again, filling the streak he'd wiped away, and new letters began to appear, written by something that didn't need a finger. Clean strokes in the mist. Look closer. He whispered, no. The letters faded, then came back, sharper. Look closer. He stared at the mirror, heart stumbling, and forced himself to step forward again. The human brain hates unanswered instructions. Even when the instruction is a trap, it wants to obey just to end the tension. He leaned in, close enough that his breath warmed the glass, close enough that he could see pores in his own skin, the slight tremble in his lower eyelid. His reflection leaned in too, but not perfectly. There was a delay, barely a fraction of a second, enough to make the stomach twist. He blinked. His reflection blinked a beat later. He swallowed. The reflection swallowed after him. That's when he understood. Not that the mirror was wrong, that the mirror was thinking. He stepped back. The reflection stepped back, slower, as if reluctant to give him distance. The bathroom door behind him creaked, not from air pressure, from a hinge deciding to move. He spun. The door was still. He turned back to the mirror. His reflection was smiling. He wasn't. His face was frozen, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. But the thing in the mirror had pulled his lips upward gently, as if trying on the expression the way you try on clothes. He stumbled backward, nearly hitting the tub. Stop, he breathed, voice thin. The reflection's smile widened. It raised a hand. He didn't. Its fingers pressed against the glass, palm flat, like it wanted to push through. The mirror fogged again, but the print stayed clear, too clear, like the glass was soft under that touch. He backed out of the bathroom, leaving the light on, because darkness would make it worse. Humans always believe that. He returned to the bedroom, grabbed his phone, and checked the time. 2:58 a.m., of course. The hour where your mind is weakest, and your body is heavy, and your fears have room to stretch. He called the front desk. 1 ring, 2, no answer. He tried again. The call didn't even connect. It simply ended, like the hotel had decided he wasn't allowed to speak to anyone but his room. He turned his phone's flashlight on and pointed it toward the bathroom doorway. The light beam cut into the bathroom. The mirror reflected it, but the reflection bent it slightly, like water bending light. He whispered, "This is a dream." He said it like a spell. Dream, dream, dream. The word did nothing. The buzzing from the bathroom grew louder, then softer, then stopped entirely, as if someone had placed a hand over the light. The bathroom light flickered once, twice, then steadied, and the mirror's surface went dark, not black like a shadow, dark like a screen turned off. He stood very still. From the bathroom came a soft sound, a wet squeak, like a finger dragging slowly down glass. Then another sound, small, fragile, a quiet tap, the mirror being knocked from the inside, polite, testing. 3 taps. His skin erupted in goose flesh. He backed toward the bed, wanting distance, and reached for the suitcase, thinking about leaving. But leaving means opening the door, and doors are where I like to wait. He didn't reach it, because the bedroom lamp on the nightstand clicked off by itself. The other lamp followed. Darkness pooled in the room, leaving only his phone's flashlight beam and the pale glow from the bathroom door. The rain outside grew louder, or maybe it only felt louder because everything else had stopped trying to sound human. He turned the flashlight toward the door, the main door. It was still closed, still locked, still pretending to keep him safe. Then the chain lifted, by itself. Metal rising, sliding free with a soft rattle. The deadbolt turned, click, unlocked. He didn't touch it. The handle lowered slowly, gently, like a hand in a glove. The door opened, not wide, just enough to show the hallway. Empty, dim, carpet stretching left and right, silent and waiting. His throat went dry. Because the hotel doesn't unlock doors for you. The hotel unlocks doors for what wants you. He whispered, "No." The phone light trembled in his hand. From behind him, in the bathroom, the mirror tapped again, faster this time, like impatience. Then the bathroom light went out, complete darkness. And in that darkness, he heard breathing. Not his, not from the vent. Close breathing, right at the doorway, like someone standing in the bathroom had leaned forward to smell the bedroom air. He didn't turn. He couldn't. He stared at the open door to the hallway, and he felt the split. 2 directions, both wrong. He took 1 step toward the exit. The hallway light outside flickered, and for a moment, just a moment, he saw the mirror of the elevator down the hall, reflecting someone standing behind him, in his room, tall, still, close enough that the reflection looked crowded. He froze. The phone light shifted. The elevator reflection vanished as the hall light steadied. His breathing became shallow, quick. He wanted to run, But running in a hotel is a child's mistake. Hallways make running feel endless. They turn distance into hunger. He backed away from the door and slammed it shut. Locked it again. Chain. Deadbolt. Twice. His hand shook. He turned back to the bathroom. The darkness there felt thick, like velvet draped over a mouth. He raised his phone light into it. The beam hit the mirror, and the mirror reflected his light back perfectly. Except, the reflection showed the bathroom empty. No him. No doorway behind him. Just the sink, the tub, the tiles, and a dark space where a person should be. He whispered, "That's not possible." The mirror brightened slightly, like a screen waking, and his reflection appeared, standing far back in the bathroom, near the tub, smiling again, not moving like him, not obeying. The reflection's eyes were too open, too wet. It lifted a hand and waved slowly. Then it pointed with one finger to the space behind him in the bedroom. His stomach dropped. He turned. The bedroom was empty, but the bed sheets had shifted. A slight depression forming near the pillow, as if someone had sat down gently. The phone light trembled. The depression deepened, like weight settling in. Then the pillow sank, as if a head had lowered onto it. He stared at the shape on the bed, no body visible, only the subtle warping of fabric and shadow. A wet exhale touched his neck. He spun around, swinging the phone light wildly. Nothing. Then the mirror spoke without sound. The reflection moved its mouth. And although the room was silent, the words were somehow understood, like they were inside his skull. "You look tired." The lamp beside the bed clicked on suddenly. Warm light flooded the room, and for a split second, he saw it clearly. A man sitting on the bed, same build, same clothes, same face. Him, but not. Because its posture was too relaxed, like it belonged here, and its smile was too calm, like it had never once been afraid. The light snapped off again, dark. He screamed this time. The room swallowed it, smothering sound like thick carpet. In the bathroom, the mirror's surface rippled, like water deciding to become a doorway. His reflection stepped forward, and the glass bulged outward. He watched, frozen, as a hand pressed from inside the mirror, fingers pushing into reality. The glass didn't crack, it stretched, like skin. The hand emerged fully, slick with fog, and gripped the edge of the mirror frame. Then another hand, then a shoulder, a head. The reflection was climbing out, dragging itself into the bathroom with slow, patient strength. And as it emerged, he realized the worst part. It wasn't coming to kill him quickly. It was coming to replace him neatly, to leave no mess, no blood, no questions. A perfect upgrade. He stumbled backward, tripping over his suitcase, crawling, desperate, toward the door. The door wouldn't open. The handle turned uselessly in his grip, as if the lock had decided it wasn't his anymore. He pounded it once, twice, 3 times. Polite, like a knock, like mine. Behind him, the mirror thing took a step onto tile. Its feet made no sound. It walked like a thought. The phone light reflected in its eyes that looked exactly like his, but older, hungrier, deeper. spoke with his mouth, softly, close. "You can rest now," it said, and the room's temperature dropped in a clean, sudden way, like a freezer door closing. His breath turned white. The mirror thing came closer. The bed depression behind him lifted, as if the invisible body had stood. Now 2 presences filled the room, one from the mirror, one from the bed, a perfect symmetry, a perfect trap. He whimpered, hands slipping on the door handle. He felt fingers touch his shoulder, cold and gentle, not squeezing, guiding, like staff guiding a guest to the right room. He turned his head just enough to see the mirror thing's face beside his. The smile was kind, the voice was quiet, and the words were warm as a blanket pulled over your mouth. "Thank you for staying." The bathroom mirror behind it was empty now. Not dark, not fogged, just clean glass reflecting a room with no guest in it. Only a man who belonged. And on the other side of that reflection, in a place you call real, someone would wake in the morning, yawn, stretch, and check out with your name. Water is the easiest place to hide a mouth, and hotels are full of water. He found the pool because he couldn't stand the room, not because it was bad. My rooms are always comfortable, but because comfort makes some people restless. Silence makes them itch. Darkness makes them imagine things. So they go looking for light. They go looking for the one place in the building that still feels alive at night. They go looking for water. He walked down the hallway in flip-flops, towel over his shoulder, keycard in his pocket. The carpet muted his steps until it felt like he wasn't moving at all. The only sound was the rain outside, steady and patient, and the faint hum of vents pushing cold air through my ribs. He passed the gym, closed. He passed a conference room with chairs stacked like bones. Then he reached the pool door. A sign on it read, "Pool hours, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. He checked his phone, 12:14 a.m. He smiled like he'd found a loophole. That's the thing about rules in hotels. They make guests feel clever when they break them. He swiped his keycard. The lock clicked. Of course it did. I love letting you in. The pool room was warmer than the hallway, heavy with chlorine and damp tile. The air pressed against his skin like a wet cloth. Lights glowed along the ceiling, soft, too soft, casting reflections that trembled on the water's surface. The pool itself was long and rectangular, lined with pale blue tiles, lane markers on the bottom, depth numbers painted along the edge. Everything clean, everything sterile, everything designed to make you feel safe. He dropped his towel on a chair and stepped closer to the water. The surface was too still, not calm, still like it was listening. He dipped a toe, warm. He sighed, relieved, and slid in. The water hugged him, closer than water should. It carried his weight like a hand under his ribs. Chlorine stung his nostrils, sharp and artificial, the smell of something trying to convince you it's pure. He started swimming slow laps. No splashing, no play, just movement. He didn't notice that the echoes in the room didn't match his strokes, that sometimes the sound of his arms breaking the surface came a half-second late, that the room answered him like it had to think before it copied him. On his third lap, he heard it, a drip, not from the ceiling. Pools always drip. This drip was different. It came from the far end, near the deep side ladder, a slow, steady slip, plip, plip, like someone tapping a fingernail on tile. He stopped, floating, and listened. The drip continued, but there was no leak. The ceiling above the deep end was dry. The walls were dry. The windows were sealed. Rain streaking on the outside like the building was crying in private. He swallowed, trying not to feel foolish, and started toward the deep end. The water felt thicker as he moved. His arms met resistance, like pushing through syrup. He told himself he was tired. He told himself the chlorine was making his head weird. Humans always reach for excuses before they reach for truth. He reached the ladder and grabbed the metal rail. Cold, too cold, as if it had been sitting in a freezer. He pulled himself up slightly and peered over the pool edge to look at the tile. Nothing. No puddle. No leak. No water running down the wall. But the drip continued. Plip, plip, plip. He looked down at the water and his stomach dropped, because the drip wasn't coming from above. It was coming from below. From the deep end, beneath the surface, a single bubble rose slowly and broke. Plip. Then another bubble. Plip. Then another. Like something underneath was breathing. He released the ladder and backed away in the water, eyes fixed on the deep end. The bubbles stopped. Silence filled the room again. He exhaled shakily. Then the pool lights flickered. Once, twice. The water turned black between flashes, like the pool wasn't filled with water anymore, like it was filled with open night. The lights steadied, blue tiles again, lane lines, depth numbers. He blinked hard. The lights flickered again, black water again. In that flash of black, he saw a shape under the surface. Not a shadow. A body, face up, eyes open, staring at him. The light steadied. The shape was gone. He froze, breath locked. His heart hammered so hard he could feel it in his throat. He whispered, "No." The water around him made a soft, wet shift. As if it liked the sound of denial, he started swimming toward the shallow end, not fast, just leaving. Smooth, quiet strokes. No panic yet, because panic is a confession. Halfway across, the lights flickered again. Black. In the black, the face was closer, closer than it should be. Right beneath him now, mouth slightly open, hair floating like weed. The lights steadied. He gasped, swallowing a mouthful of chlorinated water, coughing. He thrashed once, splashing loud enough to wake the building, and the building did not care. He forced himself to stop splashing, forced himself to breathe. He looked down into the water again, daring it. Blue again, empty again. His breathing became thin and quick. He reached the shallow end steps and grabbed the edge, pulling himself toward the exit. That's when he saw the depth marker on the tile. It should have read 1.2 meters. It read 12 meters. He blinked, frowning. He looked again, still 12 meters. He shifted his gaze down the pool ledge. The next marker read 14 meters, then 16 meters, numbers that didn't belong here. The pool wasn't that deep. He'd seen it. It was normal. It had to be normal. But the numbers kept increasing the farther he looked, climbing like a heartbeat, accelerating. A soft sound behind him, a splash, not his. He turned. The deep end water had moved. A ripple spread outward in a perfect circle, as if something had just surfaced gently and slipped back under. The pool lights flickered again, black. In the black, the far end of the pool wasn't a wall anymore. It was a tunnel, a mouth carved into tile, wide and dark, breathing bubbles. The light steadied, the wall returned. He stared, shaking, and tried to climb out. His palm slipped on wet tile. He tried again. The edge felt wrong. Not smooth ceramic. Soft, slightly yielding, like skin stretched tight over bone. He yanked his hand back. A faint imprint remained in the moisture where his palm had pressed. 5 fingers, clear and deep. And then the moisture sucked it away, smoothing itself as if embarrassed. He backed into the water, horror rising like bile. He needed a different exit. The pool room had another door at the far side, an emergency exit leading to the spa corridor. He began swimming toward it, faster now, not sprinting, but urgent. The water resisted him harder, tugging at his legs, holding his hips, as if it wanted him to stay and finish the conversation. Halfway there, the drain at the bottom of the pool began to hum. A low, throbbing vibration that traveled through the water into his bones. The lane markers on the pool floor seemed to bend slightly, the straight lines warping, like something underneath was pushing up. He stopped swimming. He floated, trembling, because he could feel movement beneath him. Slow, massive, a shift, like a huge body rolling over in sleep. The pool lights flickered again, black, and in that black, his own face stared up at him from beneath the surface. Not drowning, not dead, smiling, eyes open, too wide. The light steadied. He screamed, but the scream came out as a bubbling gasp, swallowed by water and chlorine and the weight of the building. He turned and swam again, desperate, arms slicing, legs kicking. The emergency door was right there. He reached it. His wet hand slapped the handle. He pushed. It didn't move. He pushed again. Locked. Emergency exits are supposed to open, but not here. Not tonight. A soft beep came from the keypad beside it, and a small red light blinked. Alarm disabled. He stared at it, confused. Then horror tightened his throat. Of course it was disabled. The building wanted quiet. The building wanted privacy. The building wanted him to stay. Behind him, the water changed. Not temperature, texture. It thickened. It grew heavy. It began to pull downward in a slow, deliberate way, as if the pool had decided to become deeper all at once. His feet dropped lower than they should have. He kicked, trying to keep them up. The depth marker beside him shimmered. 120 meters. He looked at it, eyes wide, and the number held steady. confident, like a lie that had become law. He pressed his back against the locked door, chest heaving. The pool lights flickered again. Black. In the black, the surface of the pool wasn't a surface anymore. It was a lid. And beneath it, shapes moved. Many shapes. Hands reaching up. Faces pressed against the underside of water like people pressed against glass. Mouths open, not for air, waiting for him to come close enough to share. The light steadied, blue again, empty again, but the water around him was rising. No, not rising, climbing. It crawled up his torso like a living thing, wet and cold now, climbing higher than the waterline should reach. He tried to push it away with his hands. It clung. He felt it tug at the hair on his arms, not like current, but like fingers. He turned his head to breathe, and a ripple licked his mouth. Saltless, chlorinated, but underneath it, a taste like old pennies. Blood. He gagged. The locked door behind him vibrated softly, like someone outside had placed a hand on it. 3 gentle taps. Polite. His eyes darted toward the glass panel in the door. Beyond it was the dark spa corridor, lights off. But in the glass reflection he saw something else. Not the corridor. The pool behind him. And in that reflection, something stood at the water's edge. Tall, still, featureless in the dim, a silhouette made of deeper dark. It leaned slightly forward, as if curious, as if hungry. He didn't turn fully. He knew better now. He kept his eyes on the reflection, breath shallow. The silhouette raised an arm and pointed at the water around him. Then it pointed at his chest. Then, very slowly, it pointed at his mouth. A command, an instruction. He shook his head violently. No! The water surged upward, not splashing, rising as a solid wall, pressing against his lips, sealing them. He tried to inhale. Chlorine flooded his nose. He choked. The water pushed into him, filling him with cold and taste and weight. He clawed at his own face, trying to break the seal, but his hand slipped, as if the water had made his skin too smooth to grip. His eyes burned. His lungs spasmed. He looked down into the water one last time, and in the clear blue beneath him, where the bottom should have been close, there was no bottom. Only depth. Only darkness. Only a slow, patient movement far below, like something turning over in its bed. A mouth, opening. His vision narrowed, edges blackening. The silhouette in the reflection smiled without a face, and in his ears, not from speakers, not from vents, not from any place you can point to, a whisper settled gently inside his skull. You wanted to feel alive, I murmured. So I gave you a place where everything else is. The water pulled, down, hard. His body sank like a stone. No splashing, no struggle visible from outside. Just a smooth disappearance, like he had been accepted. And as he dropped into the impossible depth, the pool lights flickered one final time. Black. In that blackness, he saw it clearly. The pool was not a pool. It was a throat, and he was sliding down it. The lights steadied again. Blue tiles, calm water, lane lines, perfect, still, ready. By morning, staff would find the pool pristine. No mess, no blood, no sign of panic. Just a single wet footprint on the tile near the closed sign, and the depth marker at the deep end painted neatly. 1.2 meters because numbers are polite, and so am I. I keep my hotel clean. I only take what the water can swallow.